Are we rolling? We are. I always check that auto detect thing on the camera. It's really cool, but yeah. So welcome back to another longer form YouTube video, guys. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I said I would whip out the camera and record a few bits of what I'm doing here this morning, just after finishing up a bit of morning coaching in the gym here myself. So going to go through a session here, and it's going to be more focused, I suppose, for in-season GAA players. So our league finished up there about 3 weeks ago, 3 coming on 4 weeks ago now. The weeks are absolutely flying, it's crazy. And one negative thing, I suppose, is that we have a massive gap now until our championship in August. So, you know, it can sometimes feel like you're just getting started, and then next thing it's finished for ages, and you have a really long wait until championship begins, and you're kind of in that lull period. You're not maybe sure what you're doing, or maybe what you should be focusing on, but there's loads of different areas. It's a perfect time to try and focus on your performance. Play around a small bit more with your training. You know, in season, it's important to have kind of a structure and a focus for giving the most for your games. Like, the aim is to try and perform for your games, be fit, be fresh, and be ready for them. But I suppose with that gap, you do have a little bit more leeway in terms of maybe getting yourself a proper structure program to work with, identifying maybe what areas you struggle with during the league, what areas of weakness you have, and see can you try and improve on them. And you know, a structure plan goes a long way with that, and that's kind of something I'm talking to a lot of GAA players at the minute who have recently joined my online GAA program. A lot of them are in the same boat, club players who have a big gap between their league and their championship. You know, and they do have challenge games coming up, and that's something I have as well. Actually, last week we had 2 challenge games, so the body was in recovery mode for a good few days after those. But you know, challenge games are really good. You can kind of have a little bit more freedom in them in terms of like trying to improve different areas of your performance, try new things for yourself and your position, and just, you know, play off the cuff, give it your all, and try to perform to your best. So they are good to have in the mix in between league and championship time to try and tie it over, which is great. But I suppose, you know, it's a really good time to try and make hay when the sun shines. I put up a post about this, or I think I put it up on my stories on Instagram as well, and I actually put up a poll asking, you know, do people have a big gap between their league and championship? And a lot of players do, especially club players. Now some will be different. Our league tends to start pretty early, because we don't have any other kind of tournament for us, and then that leaves that big gap there, whereas some clubs I know have a separate tournament to their actual league, which kind of leaves that gap a little bit shorter, which is nice as well. So, but anyways, we're going to get stuck into a session here. Going to go through, I suppose, a full body session, which is something I've been speaking about on my Instagram as well. Like, full body sessions are really good to do in season. They kind of spread the load of volume across the body evenly enough, compared to if you're just going to go into the gym and do maybe a push-pull legs split, or you're going to go into the gym and just train a really heavy leg session. That's something you don't want to be doing when you're in season. Again, in the off season, you have a bit more leeway with that. Even between the gap between league and championship, I wouldn't really be doing that. I'd be more so focusing on the qualities that you want to be able to display during a game, and what you want to work on. So your training should all revolve around that. So it's really important that we have some structure there to give us our best chance at performing well on the pitch, feeling fresh, feeling fit, feeling fast, and feeling robust. Those are kind of the main things that you want to focus on in your gym sessions. You know, and pick I suppose exercises and a workout that's going to do that for you then as well. Okay, so going to go through a full body session here. Going to talk you through a couple of the exercises, the structure, maybe some context behind why I'm doing what I'm doing in whatever layout it is. So going to get stuck into a warm up here. I'm not going to chat through the warm up too much. I'll just video a couple of clips and flow it through here. The warm-up obviously is important, but you know, I don't want to bore you. I want to kind of get into the main session and kind of dive into the exercises, the exercise selection, and give some information behind that as well, and some tips and pointers, okay? And I suppose, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to comment on the video. I'll do my best to edit this as soon as possible and make it half decent, so hopefully it is helpful for people. But yeah, I've been putting up a lot of posts on Instagram. If you go and follow me there, Megan Bannahan Fitness. around GAA, different things about pitch sessions, acceleration, max velocity, different movement patterns on the pitch, positions and patterns that you want to be doing, certain drills and things like that. And yeah, I can break down a video more pitch based as well in this kind of format. I've been consuming a lot of YouTube myself. I always consume a lot of YouTube myself. I find it really interesting. I find that, you know, I really like watching YouTube compared to maybe just sitting down and watching a series on Netflix or something like that. So yeah, so I really do like YouTube. I think it's great, and it's a nice change from trying to do like short form videos all the time on Instagram. They can be a pain, if anything. So yeah, I'm gonna get stuck into this session, and hopefully you do pick up a couple of pointers along the way, but first we're gonna warm up. So warm up is done, feeling nice and loose, definitely feeling warm, joints are mobilized, muscles are firing. So going to go into a couple of plyometrics, going to start off with a few landings here, which is something I always like to start off with kind of at the start of my workout. Try and do these at least twice a week. They're very easy to add in at the start of your gym session. So if you're doing 2 gym sessions per week, just adding these in at the start. You don't need to do loads of them. I'm going to go for 3 sets of 3 reps on the double leg, and then I'll do a couple on the single leg as well, landing position. So just focusing on absorbing that landing, the eccentric force going through the legs, which is really important when you're on the pitch. You need to be able to absorb landing, you need to be able to decelerate and have that eccentric strength on the pitch, which is something that a lot of players don't have, and it's something that can, you know, if you don't have it, you can tend to have a lot of hamstring injuries. You know, hamstring injuries, soft tissue hamstring injuries tend to happen at that slowing down phase when you're changing direction and that push off phase. So including this is going to be really good for, and it's pretty, I suppose, there's nothing too complicated about it, but it's really, really effective. So I'm going to start off with a few of these, and these are really good to add at the start of your session because you're going to be freshest. You're going to be able to focus on quality and intent within the landings, within the jumps that we'll go through in a couple of minutes now. And we want to try and start off with extensive variations of plyometrics and jumps and things like that, so that we're building some rhythm. They're not too intensive, and we can kind of get used to them, build that ankle stiffness as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But anyway, to go through this, we're going to hop off the box and we're going to have a nice soft landing, okay? Reset. So that's our drop jumps done a couple of off the double leg and single leg off the box there. So just trying to emphasize and reinforce that strong landing position. Now we're going to go into a couple of reactive efforts called pogo hops. So I'm going to do a couple of multiplanar directional pogo hops. I'll do double leg, I'll do single leg, and just get that ankle complex nice and stiff, what we want to feel on the pitch, to give us that spring and that bounce off the floor, which is something that a lot of players don't have, and it's something that I kind of emphasize in my coaching as well, with the athletes I'm working with and with the teams as well. So, you know, a lot of players feel as though they're maybe slow off the mark, or, you know, they feel heavy footed on the ground and things like that. So developing this early on in your playing career, and then, you know, adding it into your gym sessions throughout the week is going to be very beneficial. So going to go through a couple of reps here. So we'll go double leg pogos first down the floor. So we want to bring those toes up mid-air. We want to be nice and springy off the sort of midfoot. We're not on the toes itself, but we're off the midfoot. If we slid like a bank card under our heel, we should be able to slide a bank card under our heel there. So our heel is off the floor, but we're bouncing and we're trying to keep those toes pulled up. And we can go side on, same thing, toes up. So we'll do a couple off the single leg now. It's the same thing. We're trying to be nice and springy off that midfoot. Cool. And lines on the mat here are a nice guide to try and hop across here when you're doing pogo. So we can go side to side, we can go front and back. So cool. So those ones there are going to get more of the inside and outside of your foot, which is very apparent when you're changing direction. You'll have more push off the inside of your foot, and different areas throughout the game where you'll be, you know, on the outside of your foot. It's important to be strong in those positions, have strong ankle stiffness so that it doesn't roll out on you basically. So now I'm going to go into more intensive variations. So I like to kind of think of this as like a little circuit that I do at the start of the session. Now there's other ways that I can incorporate it into my session, but you know, if you're someone just looking for a bit of structure, it's important that you don't overcomplicate it. And I think this is really good where you add in the plyometrics and then the more intensive jumps at the start of your session, and then we can get into our strength now in a couple of minutes, okay? So we've went through our kind of extensive plyometrics. So those are more, I suppose, they're not as intense. We're building some rhythm, we're building some stiffness into the ankle, and we're kind of preparing that ankle and foot complex for more intensive variations to come now. So the next one I'm going to do is a counter movement jump. So these are to try and reinforce our vertical force up into the air. Again, nice strong position off the floor, bounce off the floor to get us up, and we're going to go through this with our hands and hips. And we're going to use that counter movement to get us up off the floor basically, okay? So we're going to have hands in the hips, and we're going to use a slight dip here, down. And we're trying to explode up nice and high vertically, as much force as we can into the off the ground vertically, okay? The next one I'll go through is a broad jump, but we're going to go for 3 sets of 3 reps of this. Max effort, so taking your rest period between your reps and between your sets is really important, because we're looking for max intent here, we're looking for max effort throughout the jump. So that's our vertical intensive jump done. Now we're going to go into a couple of horizontal projection jumps. So broad jumps, this is something I've been working on over the last few weeks as well, trying to improve my ability to produce force horizontally, which is apparent in acceleration, your first 3 to 5 steps in a sprint, which is, you know, what the game of GAA and basically any field sport is built around, is that small kind of burst of pace. So broad jumps are a nice kind of indication as to how much force you're producing horizontally and how, I suppose, quick you're going to be off the mark in that position as well, okay? So we're going to go for 3 broad jumps down the floor, and then we'll rest and we'll come back up 3 broad jumps as well. So that's the plyometric circuit done. Now that, like, it's pretty basic, but it's a really good place to start off with, focusing on your landing, focusing on your ankle stiffness, reactivity with that pogo plyometric, then focusing on vertical force production and focusing on horizontal force production. You know, you don't need to overcomplicate it for yourself if you're looking to start adding in more of that type of stuff into your workouts at the minute. You know, there's loads of different varieties of types of jumps. We can load them up with some weight, you know, changing direction ones are something that I would advise adding in, but getting strong in the vertical horizontal force production is a good place to start. And it's the thing that I start off with most athletes as well when we're looking to improve that speed, that explosiveness that they want to display on the pitch. Okay, so that's something that you can work on. Again, adding them in at the start of the session, you're going to be freshest, you're going to be able to focus on producing as much force as possible, and then getting into your session. I'm going to go through a strength exercise now in a second, but yeah, so starting off with extensive variations of pogos, or plyometrics, sorry, first. So there we had our pogos, and then getting into more intensive variations, so producing as much force as we can horizontally or vertically. Okay, so yeah, going to get stuck into my first strength exercise now, which is going to be a barbell reverse lunge. Okay, so something that I'm not the biggest fan of is doing back squats. Now, I would often do box squats, which are a very, very good strength exercise. Typically, you see probably the two most popular ones for GAA players in season is box squats, barbell box squats, or trap bar deadlifts, which is one that I love doing. Trap bar deadlift is really beneficial for athletes. It's a very athletic position, and there's a lot of bang for buck to be got out of it as well. Okay, so I do include that, but one that I've been including is reverse lunge. I find I get a lot more out of a reverse lunge with a barbell than I do with a back squat, and that's kind of just preference to me. Like, everyone is different. Not to say that I don't do box squats, I definitely do them. You know, having the barbell on that back position and going down into a squat. I rarely do full depth barbell back squats. I just don't find them that comfortable. I never really have. And it's something that a lot of people don't find comfortable with. So there's other variations that you can go for, and one of them that I'm doing at the minute is a barbell reverse lunge. So we're going to go through 4 sets of this. We'll start off just a quick warm-up set just to kind of get a feel for it, get the limbs moving on it, and then I'll load it up a little bit more, and we're going to go for about 6 to 8 reps each side, probably working closer to 6 reps each side as we go up the weight. So that felt good. Hips feel nice and loose, which is good. Something that the lunges will definitely test out when you go to do them first. So just going to jump up to put on a 10 each side now from a 5. So these bars are actually 15 kilo. So they're nice, and they're a bit of a thinner section to grip the hands on, but it's really comfortable. So we'll get stuck into this one, see how it goes. Felt good. So as I would have mentioned earlier in the video, feck it, we'll throw on 5s. As I would have mentioned earlier in the video, a lot of people tend to, don't have that structure with what they should be doing in season with their training, and end up having really heavy legs then on the pitch because what they're doing in the gym is fatiguing them too much. So especially when it comes to the legs, they tend to go in and do a full leg day and hammer out the legs and think that this is going to be good for them. And yes, it will build strength, but it's just not the right timing to do that type of workout if you're in season. If you're off season, absolutely, you can play around, you can build some more muscle mass, you can try and get into a calorie deficit, lose some body fat, improve your body composition. But when you're in season, you really want to have a structure that is going to benefit your pitch performance and not hinder it. That is the main focus with your gym work. So that's not to say that you leave out the gym completely, absolutely not. you know, you can go in and you can get loads of adaptation out of doing some this type of workout, where we have some plyometrics, we have one strength focused workout for the legs. So for me, it's barbell reverse lunge today. That could be a trap bar deadlift, that could be a box squat, that could be a hip thrust, it could be an RDL, you know, kind of whatever you're preferring, and you can switch that up within, you know, certain cycles of your program and within in season. But I think, you know, having something to follow is really beneficial in that sense. So, you know, focusing on one strength exercise and progressing on that then each week is going to be very beneficial for you. And you can switch that exercise up then, you know, every couple of weeks after that progression. Then, you know, having some upper body in the mix, and then having some like prehab, rehab kind of work or accessory work for the legs then towards the end of the session is going to be very beneficial. Focusing on hamstrings, hips, glutes, calves, things like that, which is going to be, you know, helpful in terms of keeping it robust and keeping it strong then as well. Something that I've been focusing on myself is actually my quad strength, because towards the latter stages of the league, I was having a bit of tendonitis in my knee, so having some knee pain there just right on the front of the kneecap, the patella. And basically that was kind of a load issue. So I had been adding in a lot more plyometrics that I probably didn't need to do, because my training experience, like since I started training, I've been playing GAA at that very young age. I started into the gym, I got knowledgeable about plyometrics, about how I should train to, I suppose, perform on the pitch. So obviously I took a break then from GAA just for about 2 years and went back at it there this year. So, you know, that extra load of plyometrics that I was doing, I probably didn't need as much, and that kind of just irritated my knee. And at the same time, I wasn't paying attention to isolating strength in the likes of my quads. I was paying more attention to my hamstrings, because, you know, you hear a lot about hamstrings in field sports and injuries and things like that, change of direction. There's a lot of load on the hamstring. So I was focusing on that more, and because I had a bit of a hamstring injury last year with running the marathons, I was always more focused on that, and then my quads kind of took a little bit of a back seat, I suppose. So one thing I've been focusing on is trying to get my quad nice and strong, so that the load is going through my quad and not going straight into the tendon in my knee, basically. And it's been feeling pretty good then over the last, I suppose, since I finished the league, it's been feeling pretty good. So things I was focusing on there was the likes of isometrics for trying to engage the quads itself. So wall sits, been doing some leg extension holds, split squat holds, and just bringing it back down to basics, focusing on body weight split squats, just to get that range of motion back into the actual knee and put load on the tendon without causing extreme pain. And then, you know, when it started to feel good, I was on that leg extension machine and I was getting the reps into that quad, and it definitely has improved over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, different things like that, you know, you'll come across like soft tissue tendon issues. They can be a lot about movement efficiency and your loading as well, like how you're actually spreading load across your body, how well you're moving into different positions and postures on the pitch. And that's why we do a lot of this kind of plyometric stuff. We do a lot of kind of, I suppose, wall drills, switching drills and things like that. It's just to give you exposure, give your body exposure to those positions, because they are kind of the optimal position that you want to find yourself in on the pitch. Now, obviously, like on the pitch, everything is going to be very chaotic. You're going to be in compromised positions, you're going to be in vulnerable positions, but it's about how well you can get out of those positions. So if your body has been exposed to these better positions before, your body is going to be able to find them. And that's kind of what it's all about in my own mind anyway, okay? So anyway, it's going to get stuck into another set here on the barbell, set number 3, and I'm going to shut up talking. So I just flew through, well, I didn't fly through the upper body, but I just showed short clips of it there because I want to go through this in a little bit more detail, and I'm a little bit tight for time. I have a couple of sessions on after this. So upper body, pretty simple. You want to have some push, you want to have some pull. You know, keeping it simple, doing some double arm variations of that first, if you're looking for more structure in your program, but then adding in some single limb unilateral variations is going to be very beneficial as well, because it really engages your core and engages that I suppose it emphasizes that contralateral balance that you want to have as well, and it's all about balance as well when you're on the pitch. Single leg work is going to be very, very important, and the exercise I'm going to get into now is a single leg hamstring bridge, which is an exercise I love doing. Savage exercise for your hamstring, getting engaged on your hamstring in more on that kind of distal end of the hamstring, so down near the knee. So I find it very, very beneficial. So run through it here. We're going to set up with a bench, or it can be a box, but we kind of want, the bench is probably better because it's a better height off the floor. We don't want to be too high off the floor with our leg or anything like that. So this height is pretty good. So the aim of this one here is we want to push our heel into the bench. That's going to get our hips off the floor. So similar to the bridge that I done in the warm-up clip earlier, where I'm bridging my hips up off the floor, we're going to do that same kind of concept here, but I'm going to be pushing through my heel. This leg is going to be up, and we want to just have a slight bend of this knee. We don't want this leg to end up completely straight when we get our hips up off the floor, but we want a slight bend so that we're getting engagement here on our hamstring nice and tight, okay? So there's a couple of variations that you can do with this one, but I find this very, very beneficial for myself. Very beneficial last year when I was rehabbing as well, okay? So engaging the core, keeping the ribs tucked down, and I'm gonna bridge and back down. So when you're in season, you don't wanna be holding the bridge for too long, I suppose, for this one, because it can accumulate a lot of fatigue in the hamstring as well. Now there are stages where you can say, like before you go onto the pitch, to kind of get that isometric loading into the hamstring before you go into any sprints or anything like that. But for today, I'm just going to be bridging it out in reps, okay? So I'm going to go for 8 on this side. Squeeze at the top for 2. Really get a squeeze in the hamstring there. It's unreal. Switching sides, same thing. Lovely. So the next exercise I'm going to show you is a side lying clamshell with hip abduction. Yes, hip abduction. So we're going to be clamshelling our hip away from our body, and we're going to be trying to target our lateral hip here, so our outside of our glute basically, okay? So this is something I've been focusing on a lot myself as well, an area that I probably have neglected in the past a little bit too, but it's you know, the outside of your hip is really important for a lot of change of direction. You know, if we're cutting and changing direction, there's a lot of push that has to come out of that hip, so it's important that we have a strong area around that as well, and that we build the capacity there. So just coming from my hamstring bridge, going to go into this exercise, and then I'm going to do a calf raise exercise. So we can do this as a tri-set in our workout. So forgot to mention, just in the upper body exercises, I had the incline dumbbell bench press, and I had a barbell bent over row. So that's a superset. So I'm doing the incline press. For my reps, I'm going straight into the barbell row, and then I'm taking a rest, and I can do that for 3 sets. And then for this one here, it's called a tri-set, so I have 3 exercises, one after the other, and then take your rest time, okay? So we're going to get set up for this one here. So with this one, we're going to be coming down into a side lying position, okay? We're going to have our elbows stacked under our shoulder, and then from here, we want to have our hands on our hips, and we're kind of using our hips and feet almost as leverage off the floor, okay? So as I come up into this position, I want to extend up my lateral hip and then coming back down. So up, extend, and back down. So just going to tuck that back here a little bit. So up, extend, and back down. So second last exercise, I suppose, of the workout that I want to go through, and that's in this tricep, is going to be a single leg half raise, elevated foot off the floor, and we're at a slight lean forward as well. So this is going to give us that strength in that lower section of the calf that we want to be able to propel ourselves forward from a sprint in a low position. And I'm loading up the side that I'm working with a dumbbell, up, squeeze, back down, heel to the floor. That's a tough one. So here we have pal off rotation. So with this one, we're working on rotational core. So we have our arms out nice and straight in front, and we're pivoting on the spot. Really good to be strong in rotation when you play a field sport. Slow on the way back in, powerful on the way out. So that is a typical session that you could do for if you are a player in season. I know this was kind of a quick video today. I hope you do find it helpful and get a few tips and pointers out of it. But the main thing is that I wanted to kind of just give you an understanding of maybe how to structure a session if you're an in-season GAA player, because as I mentioned before, people are just maybe, you know, having the wrong structure, maybe following a bodybuilding style workout program in the gym that is not going to give them as much transfer over onto the pitch. They're going to feel heavy-legged, you know, they're going to feel fatigued and things like that. So it's just about understanding how to structure your gym in around your pitch team trainings and your pitch games. Because at the end of the day, that's your main focus. If you're a GAA player, your main focus is to perform well on the pitch, be available, and to feel good when you get onto the pitch and you do get selected to play on the team for that game. So, you know, it's all about just how you structure your gym sessions, and it's not a case that we have to leave out the gym at all, because it is so beneficial. And I'd always focus more on the side of trying to do full body sessions. You know, 2 full body sessions a week is loads for any GAA player really in season, especially if you're someone who isn't really used to doing the gym. It's important to, you know, gradually ease yourself into it. But if you're someone who is trying to get to the gym 4 days a week and team train and play games, there's no need for it at all. You know, 2 full body gym sessions with specific focus and structure, like what I done there. So I focused on my warm up at the start. I focused on my plyometrics and my explosive jumps at the start as well, to get me going into it, to get me fired up, to focus on ankle stiffness and rhythm and reactivity, to focus on vertical force production, to focus on horizontal force production. And then we're into our main strength lift for the lower body, which was barbell reverse lunges for me. Upper body superset, we had push and pull, and then we had a tricep of kind of robustness work there at the end, some single leg work, some hip dominant work, some calf dominant work, and we had a core exercise. So, you know, you don't need to be in the gym for ages. You know, 45 minutes to an hour is loads to be spending in the gym, especially if you're in season with GAA. And there's ways and means to do your gym session on the same day that you train with a team. And that comes with more structure as well, because, you know, if you're someone who is you know, at the height of in season and you're on the pitch a lot, it is important for you to get some form of strength work in there, some form of exposure to robustness work as well within that. So, you know, it just kind of comes with some structure and how you fit that in. But it's all individual dependent to the person as well. Like, as I said earlier, I'm working with a lot of GAA players through my online GAA program now at the minute. and each one of them has an individual, I suppose, a different sort of a requirement or something that they want to work on. Yes, the broad overlook is that these are the qualities we need for a GAA. We want to be fast, we want to be fit, we want to be strong, we want to be robust, we want to have good movement efficiency. But within those, then there's certain things that those players need to work on, and that's kind of for me and them to kind of work closely together with. So again, it is individual dependent on different areas that you need to work on and you need to improve on yourself. But yeah, hopefully you do find that helpful, guys, and leave a comment below if you do find it helpful, and I will do more videos like this as well, and I won't be as rushed hopefully the next time. And I might try and get someone to hold the camera for me. The worst thing is like trying to move the camera every time I want to talk or you know, do an exercise or change position and things like that. So that can be tricky, and I'm not the best at this kind of stuff in terms of recording videos. So do bear with me, but I hope you do find it helpful. I'm shooting up stuff on my Instagram as well very regularly around this kind of, I suppose, GAA stuff and how to train for it, how to improve different areas of your performance. So at Megan Bannahan Fitness, you can go and drop me a follow there, and feel free to drop me a message if you have any questions. But yeah, I'll leave it at that, guys. Thanks a million for watching if you got this far. I hope it didn't bore you too much. But again, any questions, shoot me a message, and thank you for watching.